Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering video. So this is the set musings video for Urza Saga. And then going forward we'll have a corresponding Urza Saga deck girdle and an Urza Saga commander fodder. And then we'll just roll through the sets ad infinitum. So this is going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to doing this, having everything sort of aligned and have a sort of common theme rolling forward as we work through the sets. Certainly these set musings are going to help me, hopefully, for episodes of the deck girdle where I'm doing set build, where I'm doing a sealed pool build. So let's have a look. I'll just do a quick overview of the number of cards basically. So Urza Saga, I wonder why it says 356 cards here. Interesting. We'll have to find out at some point what the extra cards may be. So according to the MTG wiki article, there's actually 350 cards, 110 commons, 110 uncommons, 110 rares and 20 basic lands. What I'm going to be doing, and this is going to be true of any of the set musings episodes going forward, is I'll include in the description of the video the links to the appropriate MTG wiki website, any additional links that I might think pertinent to the story behind the set, because I'm not going to be doing that as part of these videos, and also any useful links, like say this link for what I'm using here. So it'll just be the set link for Scryfall, so people can easily go in watching the video if they want to, and either follow along or do a bit of independent research. So I'll do as I've been doing before, and we'll go through the themes, mechanics and keywords abilities, and then the cycles as well. So themes and mechanics in this set: free spells, sleeping and growing enchantments. There was also cycling and echo. It's worth getting under the bonnet or going down the Urza Saga rabbit hole, Urza Saga rabbit hole, to find out actually what the theme of the set was supposed to be. My understanding was that it was going to be centered on enchantments, but because Urza was an artificer and it was advertised as an artifact cycle, things got a little, confusing about what the thrust of the set was in some ways. The set contains some very powerful artifacts in it, and lots of broken cards as well. And if you want to know the full story, it's definitely worth tracking down the Drive to Work podcast, Mark Rosewater's podcast about this set. They got into big trouble concerning this set because it was just ridiculously powerful for the time. Probably still ridiculously powerful now. So let's have a look. So we have cycling in the set, and you can see, looking at the cards as a whole here, there are quite a number of cycling cards. There's 35. They obviously do different things. So we've got a mixture of instants, creatures, enchantments, more enchantments, even more enchantments, another creature. As you go through blue here, so you can see instants, creatures, enchantments. lands as well, with cycling in them. And there was also Fluctuator, which cared about cycling. So it reduced cycling costs. You're up to 2 less to pay. Now you'll notice the common theme here is every single cycling cost is always 2 mana of any colour. So the idea with cycling, very simply, is you pay that cycling cost and you discard this card from your hand to draw a card. Play this ability only as an instant. So it's instant speed. The idea is what you're doing is you're getting rid of the card that you have and hopefully replacing it with another card in your deck. So thins the deck out. Of course, you can't search for a card. It's just, you know, the luck of the draw, if you like. You notice there's a some runes here actually, and they all had cycling on them. And we'll come through and we'll look at the subsets of these that were cycles. They're already starting to jump out already, but I just wanted to look at these in terms of the cycling ability rather than it's unfortunate we've got cycling and cycles of cards. So yeah, and we got Echo. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm looking at the keywords abilities first before I move on to the cycles of cards across colours. So you can see with Echo, it says during your next upkeep, after this permanent comes under your control, pay its casting cost or sacrifice it. So there's no cost attributed to Echo. It's just a static ability. It's just static that's there. And so what happens is during your next upkeep, you have to effectively repay the casting cost, or you sacrifice it. And again, it's just there on, and it's obviously going to be on permanents. I think these are all, looks like they're all creatures. There wasn't Echo on any other permanent that I'm aware of. No, there isn't, because I just did an Echo search here. And you can see it's a bit lopsided colour distribution wise. Seems to be appearing in mainly red and green. Okay, so there was a cycle of embraces. They're all creature enchantments. And you can see here that what would appear, looking at the template on this, let me just ditch this down the bottom here so we can see this better. There we go. So they're all 2 and then 2 of the appropriate colour. Then it looks like, well, there's a twist here. So what they've done is any colour where flying is a thing, they've included that in addition to the +2/+2, the exception being green, which they've given trample to, and they've buffed up a bit more. So these are all, the others are all +2/+2 and flying as the first bit. And then the green one is +3/+3 in trample. Now in addition, for each colour, there seems to be like a, if you like, a more specific, particularly for these 4, a more specific on colour ability with that enchantment. So for the white one, you have vigilance, attacking does not cause enchanted creature to tap. The blue one can't be the target of spells or abilities. The black one, whenever a creature successfully dealt damage by enchanted creature this turn is put into a graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on enchanted creature. The red one does actually have an activation cost, although it's not, you don't have to tap anything. So red enchanted creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And then Gaia's Embrace, which is the green one, single green, regenerate enchanted creature. So there's those cycle of embraces. There was a cycle of rare legendary lands. Now, I've got all the legends in here. The cycle is these first 5 here. So you can see they all tapped for a certain colour, but they were dependent on, well, that's not true actually. Let me dial back on that because it's a bit more complicated. So for the white, the blue and the green, the amount of mana you generated was synergistic, I'm trying to think of a better word, or dependent on certain permanents you had in play. So for Sarah's Sanctum, the white one, it was enchantments. For Tolarian Academy, the blue one, it was artifacts. For Gaia's Cradle, the green one, it was creatures. Now for the other two, the black and the red, they did it slightly differently. It was tap, add 1 colourless mana to your mana pool for both the black and the red one. The black one was sacrifice a creature, add 2 black to your mana pool. So it had like extra utility and ways of generating mana, additional mana through sacking a creature, but you couldn't sack multiple creatures because it had to be tapped to be activated. And for Shivan Gorge, the red one, 2 and a red, and tap it, and it would deal 1 damage to each of your opponents. I've included here in this, although it wasn't part of the cycle, it was a regular land, and not one of the legendary lands actually. But I just wanted to show that on here to show you the other rare land that was in the set, which was Thran Quarry. At the end of each turn, if you control no creature, sacrifice Thran Quarry, tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. So the 5 in the cycle are legendary lands, basically. Okay, so this cycle here, a cycle of enchantments, and I believe the cycle is referred to as perpetual enchantments. So you can see, in addition to their individual abilities here, which are all different, the first one, so enchanted creature gets +1/+2 for the white one for Brilliant Halo. Launch, enchanted creature gains flying. Despondency, enchanted creature gets -2, -0. Fiery Mantle, when it's put into a graveyard from play, return Fiery Mantle to its owner's hand. For some reason, on that one they reversed the order. I'm not sure why that is. There's probably some reason. I don't know if anybody can tell me why that would be the case, because what they've done is they've put the this other ability, which is the one that's same on all the cards. They've altered the order on this one. So for Brilliant Halo, for example, when Brilliant Halo is put into a graveyard from play, return Brilliant Halo to owner's hand. So that's why they're referred to as a perpetual enchantment. If they end up in the graveyard, they go back to the hand, and that's true of the green one as well. And on that it says, additionally sacrifice a forest, regenerate enchanted creature. So down here, red enchanted creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So I wonder if that's just a templating thing, where if they have some sort of activation cost, that always goes down the bottom. Not sure there myself why that would be the case. But anyway, so regardless of the order these rules are put, they all have this ability to bounce back from the graveyard back to the hand. Okay, so these all have verse counters on them. It's another cycle of enchantments. You can see, there's a ton of enchantment stuff in here. The other thing actually I didn't mention, if you notice, the overall casting cost is the same for all this other cycle. This one, it's different for the white one, Series Liturgy, and you've got Recantation, blue one, Discordant Dirge, black, what's that, Rumbling Crescendo, and then Midsummer Revel. Oops. Okay, so again with these, you can see same ability on all 5 of them. So during your upkeep you may put a verse counter on and then the name of the card. Additionally, there's this second ability where you can pay a single mana of the appropriate colour, sacrifice it, and then that does something. So with the white one, destroy up to X target artifacts and or enchantments, where X is the number of verse counters. So this is where the verse counter count comes into play. So when you activate this second ability, this sack ability, including paying the cost. So for the blue one, you return up to X target permanence to its owner's hand, where X is the number of verse counters. So bounce. Okay, this is interesting. So this looks like discard. Look at a target opponent's hand and choose up to X of those cards, where X is the number of verse counters. That play discards those cards. The red one, I suspect, is... that's actually land destruction then. Okay, destroy up to X target lands where X is a number of verse counters. Okay, interesting. And Midsummer Revel. X beast counter tokens into play where X is a number of verse... okay, so you get through... wow. That's pretty cool. Okay. Powerful stuff. So these were referred to as growing enchantments. You'll notice the cycles, this particular cycle is all at rare. You will come on in a moment, there was a cycle of growing enchantments at uncommon as well. And I believe this is it. So Sarah's Hymn, Lilting Refrain, Val, Requiem, Torch Song, War Dance. Uses verse counters, as did the other ones. And again, you sack it. For these ones, it looks like only 2 out of the 5 have an additional cost to them beyond the sacrifice cost. Yeah, whereas the other ones all had a single colour. So what does the white one do? So you sack it, Prevent up to X damage, damage total to any number of creatures and or players where X is the number of verse counters. What does blue do? Counters target spells. This is cost base X, where X is the number of verse counters. Play that as an interrupt. Oh yeah, because of course interrupts and instants, there was a difference at that time still. Destroy up to X target non-black creatures where X is the number of verse counters on Val Requiem. Those creatures cannot be regenerated this turn. A red one, so this is X damage to target creature or player where X is the number of verse counters. And then this is a pump spell. +X until end of turn. Oh, yep, so there's our runes. Again, we saw those earlier when we were talking about cycling. So you can see these are all in white. There's a colour cycle of these, but there's 2 additional ones as well, which is one's for land and one's for artifacts. So black, blue, green, red, white, and then one for artifacts and one for lands. And they just basically prevented all damage from a particular source. So for the colour ones it was for that particular colour, for the artefact ones it was damage from artefacts, and for the lands one it was prevent all damage to you from a land source. And they all had cycling on them. Now I've got here all of the uncommons listed, and the main reason I did this, but other stuff might bounce out at us as I'm doing this, is I wanted to just highlight the uncommon enemy colour hate, and there's 2 colours in each of the colours, and it's quite difficult to sort of filter for those specific 2 cards in each colour. So I knew they were all uncommon, so I'm just going to pick them out. So we have Absolute Grace and Absolute Law. It's easy for the white one because they have absolute in them. So they're both enchantments. Absolute Grace, 1 and a white, and they're both 1 and a white actually. All creatures gain protection from black, and Absolute Law, all creatures gain protection from red. So what you'll notice is the reason why there's 2 of them is they're for each of the enemy colours for that particular colour. And apparently it's a throwback to a similar cycle from Revised Edition. So it tells me in the MTG wiki. So we've got Douse and Hibernation in blue. So Douse was an enchantment, Hibernation was an instant. So both 2 and a blue. So for Douse, 1 and a blue, counter target red spell, play it as an interrupt. And then for Hibernation, return all green permanents to owner's hands. Moving on to black, we've got Yawgmoth's Edict and Bereavement. So we'll do Bereavement first. So this is the protection from green. So 1 and a black, or sorry, hosing, really, way of thinking about it. Or hate, yeah, not hating, but more hate than hose. So when a green creature is put into a graveyard from play, its controller chooses and discards a card. And then, where are we gone? Yawgmoth's Edict. Whenever one of your opponents successfully casts a white spell, that player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Are they both those 1 and a black? Let's have a look. Yeah. I don't know if that was a thing. It seems to be where it's going, is they've got the same colours and mana. Disorder Scald. So there's the Disorder. I'm going to have to go to the next page for this. 1 and a red. Sorcery. Disorder deals 2 damage to each white creature and each player who controls a white creature. Okay, that's one of the 2 enemy colours. And the other one was Scald. Whenever a player taps an island, so this is the hate on blue one. Whenever a player taps an island for mana, Scald deals 1 damage to that player. Again, 1 and a red. What do we have at the end here? Carpet of Flowers and Spreading Algae. Okay, where's our Carpet of Flowers? There we go. See, okay, so difference in the casting cost for this first green one. So single green, it is an enchantment. During your main phase, you may add up to X mana of 1 colour to your mana pool. Hang on. Oh, there we go. To mana pool, X is the number of islands target opponent controls. Okay, so that's it's interesting. It's actually more of a benefit to you. I mean, you're indirectly hating on that colour because you're giving yourself additional mana, but yeah, it's not like you're taking away mana or stuff like that. So you're causing an imbalance, I suppose, which results in that. Spreading Algae. Single black. Play Spreading Algae only on a swamp. When enchanted land becomes tapped, destroy that land. When Spreading Algae is put into a graveyard from play, return Spreading Algae. Okay, so this one bounces back as well. And then we've obviously got a number of uncommons, uncommon artifacts actually. So yeah, it's quite a few artifacts in the set. Oh, and a Blasted Landscape. At uncommon. A good old Worn Power Stone here. I'm going to go through the set as a whole in a moment. It's actually difficult to get, or easy to get distracted here. Okay, this one. What's this all about? So this was a vertical cycle. Free spells. Yeah, this broken. Okay, so some are more broken than others, I think. So rewind, 2 and 2 black, interrupt, counter target spell, untap, up to 4 lands. So it's free spell because what you're doing is you're getting back what you've invested. So Peregrine Drake, 4 and a blue, flying. When Peregrine Drake comes into play, untap up to 5 lands. Okay. Great Whale, 5 and 2 blue. When Great Whale comes into play, untap up to 7 lands. What were they thinking? It's a 5/5. Time Spiral, 4 and 2 blue. Sorcery. Remove Time Spiral from the game. Each player shuffles his or her graveyard and hand into his or her library. Then draw 7 cards. And you untap up to 6 lands. Wow. Okay, so yeah, for creatures, the untap happens as it enters the battlefield, not surprisingly. And for the non-creature spells, they're part of the resolution of the ability. I forgot how crazy these were. What's the downside? Well, that you have enough land. Well, untap up to 4 lands. I mean, obviously you have to have the mana there in the first place to play it. And what's happening is yeah, it's costing you to pay the card. That is happening, but it then means you've got the mana back. So you've been reimbursed. Would it be more accurate to call these a reimbursement spell? You've been reimbursed for your mana outlay. What's this? Where did I put these up? Oh yeah, I remember now, sorry. So this was part of a mega cycle. There was a reason why I didn't show all of these, but I'll tell you basically. So Voice of Grace and Voice of Law, you'll see here that flying protection for black, flying protection for red. So they're both in white, but they're pro different protection from different colours basically. So Voice of Grace and Voice of Law are the first and second cards of a mega cycle. Now what then followed on, and you'll see this when we get onto Urza's Destiny, was there was Voice of Reason, which was the blue one, Voice of Duty, which was the green one. I think that's why I didn't bring them up on the screen here, because I know we're going to be covering them in a few weeks' time anyway. And then further down the line we had Nemesis, that Voice of Truth within Nemesis. And then some of you are probably familiar with Voice of All, which was released in Plane Shift as an homage to this mega cycle. And so mega cycles are basically cycles that extend beyond a block. So they extend both beyond the set and beyond the block into other sets in other blocks. So even though 4 of these out of the 5 were all in the Urza's block, they were, Voice of Truth was in Nemesis, which is a completely different block. Oh, there's Cairn Silver Golem. Legendary artifact creature. Thought it was important to bring that up, seeing as that's in the set. Now, let me go back to the set as a whole. Actually, before we do that, we'll just go back one step there. So there were 2 legends in the set. Baron Master Wizard, which counts as a wizard because at that point wizard wasn't in the description here in the creature type. And then 2, sacrifice permanent, return target creature to owner's hand, and like I said, the other legendary, which was an artifact creature, was Karn Silver Golem. It's a 4/4. Whenever a Karn Silver Golem blocks or becomes blocked, it gets -4/+4 until end of turn. Single mana of any colour. Target non-creature artifact is an artifact creature with power and toughness each equal to its casting cost until end of turn. Cool. So I'm just going to scroll through this and see what else jumps out at us beyond the cycles. Now, one thing I've started to, and you've probably noticed this as well, what we're starting to see, and this started before Urza's, and you particularly see this actually if you look at the core sets, 4th, 5th, 6th. There's a certain point in the core sets where you get a real consistency of artwork, and that seems to be what we're sort of moving towards here in Magic's history, is we're starting to see within a set there's more artwork. The artwork itself is more consistent. It's of a better quality. the look and feel is consistent. I mean, there's odd ones where it looks a little bit different, or quite considerably different, but generally it's interesting when you look at some of the sets as a whole, and multiple cards, you start to see this, and I'll flag it up a bit more. It's a bit more pronounced in some of the later sets, where I've started to notice that a lot more. There's several drakes in it. I'll go back to Gilded Drake in a moment. I was just scrolling through there, so you could see the artwork in totality. Congregate. Now, why does that come? Oh, yeah, I thought so. So it was in Commander 2011. Target play gains 2 life for each creature on the battlefield. So we should watch out for those, actually. Set cards where there's like for each creature in play, or for everything in play, has a real big impact in obviously multiplayer games. So Catastrophe, that wasn't reprinted. Destroy lands or all creatures. Creatures destroyed this way cannot regenerate this turn. There's other modal cards in Magic which will I think do similar things. I can't remember the name of the card off the top of my head, but I'm aware of that. And Disenchant is in here. Well, I suppose within artifacts or enchantments in the set, you would want something to deal with that. We've seen it in Tempest. It's been in a few like other later sets. I'm trying to think. Let me just bring this up, see what we've got. There's a different Magic the Gathering Online artwork. That was M20 as well. That's why you have to sort of click through, because you don't get to see all of the sets. Yeah, look, it's all over Magic, and no surprising. Good old Glorious Anthem. I recognise that from 10th edition. You can see popular in core sets there. When was the last time that was printed? Oh wow, yeah. Very recent. So yeah, there was a big gap then between 10th edition. I'm assuming, yeah, you can see the black border ones definitely slightly more expensive than the white border core set ones. I was just interested in the triggered ability there. Wow, look at this stuff. Oh, here we go. Good old Sarah Avatar. Its power and toughness each equal to your life total. When Sarah Avatar is put into a graveyard, shuffle it back into your library. Okay. Yep. No surprise there. Let's just have a look at this. I just want to see. They printed that in M13, didn't they? Yeah. So what's that one all about? 'Cause it's alternate artwork. Okay, hasn't been printed too many times outside of the Commander product. Oh, that's why. It was a promo for Jewels of the Planeswalker. It's interesting. I wonder what I redeemed mine then for. Maybe it was different ones for different platforms. Maybe I didn't redeem mine. Because I know I had all these. I think every year I bought a copy of this for the PC. I probably owned the PlayStation 3 actually. And I remember having to go quite far to get, or travel to further afield game stores to get those redeemed. It could be quite tricky tracking those down early on when it first came out. There are catalogues in here. I recognise that from Shadows over Innistrad. More than I do Urza's. I can't say I've opened a ton of Urza's product. I think I've opened one booster. Back when it wasn't super expensive. There's this interesting period was it about 9-10 years ago, when boosters were relatively affordable, like old boosters, and at some point you'll get to see what I call my booster collection, which isn't the boosters. I've actually opened them, sadly. Well, it was good opening them, but now when I look at the prices of some of those boosters, like compared to how much I paid versus what they are now, it's pretty eye-watering for a large amount of them. But I'll have to go through that those ones, because it's pretty interesting trip through Magic's history just from a single booster perspective, to see, as a Saga booster alongside as the contents of one alongside as Destiny and so on. I'll come on to this fella in a moment. Maybe I'm thinking of another card. Okay, so first I'm going to look at Fog Bank, because I know that's been reprinted a few times in Commander. You can see, super annoying. It has flying. It is a wall, so it can't attack. But it does not deal or receive combat damage. I'm trying to think of one of those. Oh, it's gone now. Isn't there a blue? Am I thinking of the wrong card? I'm just thinking there's some cards in Magic which will globally redirect damage to another card. It's gone. If you can remember, please comment in the comment section. But there's a permanent I'm thinking of. It's probably a legendary creature where when it's in play you get the opportunity to redirect damage to another creature. So I imagine that in combination with this pretty nasty, or pretty annoying. Okay, Gilded Drake. $354. Okay. So what's the problem with this one then? Okay, so let's have a look. When Gilded Drake enters the battlefield, exchange control of Gilded Drake and up to one target creature opponent controls. If you don't or can't make an exchange, Sacrifice Gilded Drake. This ability still resolves if the target becomes illegal. Okay. So yeah. Good old Horseshoe Crab. That's morphling. There's some real modal stuff going on here. That's one of the problems when I'm doing this, is I'll look at that card and go, yeah, there's another one I know that's similar to that, and I just can't remember what the card is. I'm sure someone will comment and remind me. What I need is a list off to one side of all the cards I always fail to remember. Where I'm going, oh yeah, there's that card in white that's a legendary creature and it does X. And I always forget it. So rewind. Oh yeah, we always spoke about that. A show and tell was in here as well. So that was reprinted in Conspiracy, and it was a Judge gift card as well. That's pretty interesting artwork. That must have been in full, I'm assuming. Each player may choose an artifact, creature, enchantment or land card in his or her hand and put that permanent into play. Spiral. Never been reprinted. Now telepathy, why do I? Oh, it was because of a Magic 2010 and 10th edition, probably more than anything. Each of your opponents play with his or hands and revealed. Some of these pretty much pack in the and they like to wedge in that rules text. Abyssal Horror, 7th edition in a starter deck. You notice for some of these there is alternate artwork. Just the occasional one. And there's Exhume. Now, I knew that was in the Graveborn deck, but that hasn't been reprinted a ton. Reign of Filth. Single black, each land you control gains sacrifice this land, add black to your mana pool till end of turn. There's Arc Lightning. So you can see that's cropped up quite a number of times. I'm not sure if this was the first set it was in. Yep, it was. Although in, well, yeah, in paper, I suppose. It was in Plain Chase. So it looks like it's been in a lot of supplemental product, actually. Or, well, relatively speaking. Or championship decks. Battle Royale, Plain Chase. Crate Alien. Yep. Commander 2013. Pretty sure I have a beast deck with that in, actually. Like a beast tribal. Like a multicoloured one. So look, we have a number of goblins in here. Goblin Cadets, Goblin Lackey, Goblin Matron. It's been reprinted several times. So you got Goblin Tribal, quite a few of those. Looking at the set symbol, well, I say quite a few. 4, 5 are at common. Heat Ray now. Yeah, I recognise that from Raise the Eldrazi. That's where I remember it from. More goblins. A Thundering Giant, that's been reprinted a few times. Was in Eternal Masters. Larchwood Armour, now that, yeah, has been reprinted quite a number of times. And was it? Yeah, it was originally from Urza. Well, it's an enchantment, so probably no surprise there. Oh, Exploration. Was in Double Masters and Conspiracy. See, it's pretty pricey. Not surprising. Single green enchantment. You may play an additional land each turn. Fecundity. I'm pretty sure that's in one of the Commander. Yeah, it is. I mean, just looking through this, if you've been scanning it on the screen, I'm deliberately not going down every single rabbit hole. But, you know, the number of these cards are just ridiculous. There's a codex there. Now, that's where I recognise that from 10th edition. That's the only time it's been. So X tap, search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less, reveal it, then put it into your library and reveal your, then shuffle your library. And Claws of Kicks, why do I know that? Let's go. There's Lotus Blossom. So during your upkeep, you may put a petal counter on Lotus Blossom. Tap, sacrifice Lotus Blossom, add X mana. Okay, mana pool. X is the number of petal counters on Lotus Blossom. Play this ability as a mana source. It's 2 to cast. It's only ever cropped up in this set. 8 for 7. And you can see we have a number of artifacts here. We've got Voltaic Key, Warm Power Stone, and then we've got a, remember I mentioned there was a cycle of legendary lands. Well, there was also a cycle of common cycling lands. And you can see here's Polluted Mire here. Let me just show. So we've got Drifting Meadow, Polluted Mire, Slippery Cast. So yeah, they all came into play tapped, and tap had appropriate colour to your mana pool, but you could cycle them for 2. We sort of saw those when I went through the cycling stuff earlier. But yeah. So look, quite a number of non-basic lands in the set. I suppose that's what I'm getting at. And you had this sort of blasted landscape as well, which was a cycling land with that generated colourless mana as well. And then this Thran Quarry, which was you had to have creatures in play, otherwise it got sacked. And you can see down here we've got the lovely artwork from Urza Saga. This is fantastic artwork. It's probably one of my favourite sets for artwork. I've often been asked that. I think a few people have said, what's my favourite basic land artwork? And this set would certainly be very high up on that list. I mean, the plains, the islands, and the mountains is just spectacular. There's just something about that artwork. So just a few things to wrap this up, because I'm mindful of how long this video is getting. We're nearly up to an hour. I'm trying desperately to try and keep these videos down to below an hour, but I'm not always do very well, simply because, as you saw there, I just go into the main part and I'm just overwhelmed by some of the cards. They're just looking back at some of these, particularly this block. I think this block's going to be a real eye-opener for people that aren't familiar with this time in Magic's history. So what this is just the list sorted by price, and it's going by, I don't know whether it actually just looks at the set price or exactly how it does it, but just, yeah. So, and I always put it in this view because it's good to see how many times it's been reprinted as well. So Gaia's Cradle, that's a legendary land that adds green to your mana pool for each creature you control. So yeah, things can get seriously out of hand if you've got a heavy creature deck. Notice it's just creatures you control. It was in the World Championship deck. There's a gold border. I don't know if I have that deck. I don't think I do. And then this fella, Gilded Drake, Cirrus Sanctum. So no surprise that another one of the legendary lands is on this list. Got Yawgmoth's Will. Turned up in Vintage Masters, didn't it? No, it didn't turn up in. This is the only one then that's sort of been reprinted, yeah, in any sort of regular set. I say regular set, but you know what I mean. Anything outside of either a constructed deck or some sort of special product that wasn't booster based. Yawgmoth's Will. Until end of turn, you may play lands and cast spells from your graveyard. Okay. If a card would be put into graveyard from anywhere this turn, exile that card instead. Into your graveyard from anywhere this turn. Time Spiral, $245. Move it from the game. So this is another one of these free spells. Tolarian Academy, same thing as other legends we've seen, but for artifacts, $213. Containment. Okay, at the beginning of the upkeep, sacrifice Containment unless you'll sacrifice a creature. If a land is tapped for mana, it produces black. Okay, instead of any other type. Fair enough. We have a legend at $54, barring Lifeline, which is an artifact. Whenever a creature dies, if another creature is on the battlefield, return the first card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Okay. Bit of a party card then. And creature party. We saw this earlier. $46. Oppression is 40. Whenever a player casts a spell, that player discards a spell. It was reprinted in 7th. Oh, free spell. $40 for Great Whale. Carpet of Flowers. 30. So there's quite a few. Normally when we've done this before, this way of looking at the cards through the price, we have that thing where, you know, there's a couple of really expensive cards and then it gets down to the $10 threshold fairly fast. What I notice with the Saga is there's a lot of cards that sort of clock in around that $30 mark. Some of these have been reprinted, like, you know, Double Masters, this one in Conspiracy, Smokestack's another one that was reprinted in Vintage Masters. Morphling, another $30 card. Phyrexian Tower, getting pretty close to that. Sneak Attack, Gamble. You can see, so it goes quite a way before we reach that sort of $10 threshold that I've been arbitrarily using. Look, so they're really, a lot of these cards have really held their prices. You know, a large proportion of the set, and it'll be interesting as we go through other sets whether we see a similar set where that's the case. Tainted Ether, Lightning Dragon, 17, Swan Quarry. Yeah, that's, all these cards are all well above 10. Priest of Titania, Orthian Worm, we're getting there. So Noetic Scale, so that's our threshold really. So what's this one? At the beginning of each player's upkeep, return it to his owner hand. Each creature that player controls with power greater than the number of cards in their hand. These spells are just ludicrous. It's funny. Oh dear. Stroke of genius. You know, that was in a Commander product. Wow. Makes me smile looking at this set. Okay, so just quickly, EDH rec ranking. Yeah, I think most people are probably familiar with these cards. So, most popular card in EDH Rex database, Windfall, Dark Ritual, Gamble. Gamble I'm not that familiar with actually. Search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then discard a card at random, shuffle your library. Yeah, Warm Power Stone, Victimize, Phyrexian Tower, Exploration, Carpet of Flowers, Priest of Titania, Greater Good, Gaia's Cradle, Peregrine Drake, Rewind, Gilded Drake, Disengage. So, like usual suspects. So that Windfall, what's that mainly, what's that about? So, okay, not super expensive. It's been in a lot of Commander products. No surprise there. Let's just have a quick look at the stats here. I'll just do it on this one. Because again, this is another rabbit hole you can go down. Oh, there's some of our top commanders. New cards, reprints, blah blah blah. And then one final thing which I haven't done yet is, and this isn't the first time theme decks were printed. Theme decks were printed in paper in the previous block, in Tempest block. For Mirage they weren't printed in paper, but retrospectively they released some decks on Magic the Gathering Online for that set. So like I said, this isn't the first set that's had paper theme decks. That honour goes to Tempest block. But I thought, because I hadn't really specifically mentioned these as part of a set I'm using before, it was worth doing. These are going to have some, as well, these are going to have some relevance for when I do the Commander Fodder episodes, because I will be picking a deck, well, that's my plan anyway, from each of the sets to do a Commander Fodder episode round. Obviously it's easier where a deck contains a legendary creature, may or may not be. I'll tend to try and go for obviously the rare, so one of these 4 decks will be used for an episode of Commander Fodder. I haven't decided which one yet. Okay, so was that, you're not telling, maybe that's the card I was looking for. Yeah. Okay, so was it Pariah in combination with, I'm probably not going to even be able to find it now. I thought it was in one of the cycles I looked at actually. Maybe it was in one of the uncommons, but there was a blue card we looked at in here. Oh, it was that creature. Yeah, I can't find it at the moment. I'm sure it'll come back to me after after I've finished this. But there was a blue creature. Was it a blue uncommon? Let's see if I can find it quickly. Yeah, Fogbank. So that's what I was thinking of. I genuinely didn't realise they were both in the same set. So enchant creature, all damage that will be dealt to you is dealt to enchanted creature instead. I remember this more from 10th edition than anything. And where we just looked, Fogbank, one on the blue flying, Fogbank does not deal or receive. Oh, combat damage. No, actually that wouldn't work then. Phew. Okay, my mistake. I got a bit excited there. All damage that we dealt to you. So yeah, anybody knows how that works? So if you redirect, so for combat damage, if you're redirecting combat damage, that would still be a thing. Just pinging wouldn't wouldn't. Yeah, it's not do or receive combat damage. Yeah, so that would only apply where combat damage had been done to you, any other form of damage, that wouldn't work if I'm right on that. Correct me please if I've got that completely wrong. But yeah, so that would work, but only with combat damage that's dealt to you. I'd have to probably double check the rules on it to make sure that's the case. But yeah, that was the card that I was thinking of there. Yeah, so there we have it. So another episode in the can for set musings. Well, 1 hour 11, so I went over 11 minutes. Sorry about that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next episode, which should be an episode of the deck Durdle for Urza's Saga. So bye for now.